This is my North American Arms Super Companion black powder cap and ball revolver, the magnum size. The long rifle size is just called the Companion. The Magnum is the Super Companion. So I've got some really old percussion caps here, and a buddy of mine came up with those somewhere. I don't know where he got them, but these are really old Remingtons, and unfortunately I've tried them in this, and I've tried them in one or two other guns as well, and I have yet to have one of them fire. So that's too bad. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, the cups are still good. So I'm going to try putting a dot from a paper cap in each of them, and test that and see how well it works. See if it works. I'm thinking maybe the dot will help set off the original mixture, but the original mixture might be a complete dud, in which case it'll need more than just one of the dots. But it'll still be salvageable anyway, because if nothing else, the cup itself is good, and I can just reload it with whatever compound I need. Now this is CVA, probably made in Spain. And I don't think I had tested any of these before, but I just did in the North American Arms. CVA. Let me see. Made in Italy. Yeah, that's what I thought. And it took 2 go-arounds in this, because I guess I didn't have it pressed down hard enough or something. I had to press it down pretty hard to get it seated to where the cylinder would turn. But then on the second go around it did fire. So I don't know. I'm thinking this might be better to use with another gun. But I remember having some Italian made caps before, back in the early 80s. And this is in a plastic can, and the ones I had before, I think they were FIE. I don't think they were CVA, but they were probably the same thing, but they were in a red plastic can, and they worked fine, as I recall, as do these. So maybe I'll just shoot these in my CVA Derringer, which is what I used the red can ones in. But let's put a dot in one of these, a paper cap dot, and see if we can get it to fire. So we're going to do just one of them. There's one of the dots. They're pretty hard to handle because they're so tiny. There we go. Yeah, I've got an 1/8 inch paper punch that I use to punch the dots out, and occasionally it will accidentally fire one, which I've never had it set off the other ones that are in the punch. But I do have to, whenever I have any that fire, have to make sure and clean the paper punch well, because these things are corrosive, and it'll start rusting if I don't clean it. But other than that, no problem. Okay. That's not coming out. I'm going to have to punch it out. So here we go. I'm going to close this even though they don't fire. Okay. Nope. The paper dot fired, but it did not set off the compound, the existing compound. So, I think I can basically treat these caps as just empty cups. So either a couple of dots or a dot and a small pinch of black powder. And that's probably what I'll try next. Look at this. GoX 3F. Look at the rust on that cap. Look at the price. That's right, it says $6.95, and that was at retail. Amazing. Okay, so we're going to set that cap in that metal can lid. That'll be about enough, I think. Yeah, just about right. Set this completely back out of the way, because it would not be good to get a spark in that. Okay. Set these out of the way too. Once I find a combination that works well, I'll probably make up, well, do the whole 10 of them in fact, and put either Duco cement or shellac or whatever, hairspray, whatever, in there to hold everything together. I use the butt end of my scoop to press the cap down. Alright, here we go. Let me see, what am I gonna... I need to get something to catch that. Paper towel. I'm not worried about it catching fire because there's a sink just behind me, and I can either get some water and pour on it or pick the thing up and throw it in the sink if it starts burning. So here goes nothing. Or here goes something. Actually, it should work. I'll be surprised if it doesn't do anything. I don't know if you saw that, but although there was no discernible bang, flames came out the muzzle. So that will definitely set off a charge. And by the way, I mentioned Duco cement as a way to seal the primers, the primer compound. This is what it looks like. This was actually suggested to me by a viewer. And what makes it so great is that it's made of nitrocellulose, which is the base for pretty much all smokeless powder that I know of. Anyway, so that'll actually add to the bang capability of it instead of taking away from it. So I'll leave a link if you want to get some of that. By the way, doing this is not safe. So, I tried, once I put the thing together, oh, by the way, that did fire. A pinch of black powder in one of these caps, plus one of the little paper cap dots. And anyway, what I did, instead of putting the cap on first, and I was having to press down pretty hard with this to get it seated, and but I thought, you know, I was doing that, you know, because I was concerned about this thing maybe setting it off while I'm trying to seat the bullet. But I think it'll be better to do this and seat the bullet, you know, seat the primer first, the cap first, and then seat the bullet. But anyway, what I did, before I started pressing the thing down, pressing the cap down, I thought, I need to hold this thing in such a way that it is not pointing towards me. So I did that, but then I was having to put a little bit more pressure on it, just pressing down with that plastic dipper. You know, I didn't give it any impact or anything like that. So, but I braced it against this, and I was trying to have a little bit of overhang, but I guess I didn't succeed in that. Look at my hands. So everything's all good. I'm not, you know, there's no real damage, and there's no damage to me. But, man, look at that. So I'm going to have to clean that up. And there's the bullet. Scared my wife half to death. But anyway, from now on, I'm going to seat the caps first, which that's what I do anyway with regular caps. But with these homebrew kind of caps, I've been seating them last. But, you know, because like I said, this thing, oh, I'm concerned this thing might set it off, the loading tool. But I don't know. I guess this is the better way to do it. Go ahead and seat the cap first and then do that. That way if the cap goes off while I'm pressing down on it, which apparently it's more likely to happen that way than when it's in this, because the way this works, you know, is it just like that. So That'd probably be okay. There's probably not too much chance of that setting it off once I've got the thing well seated anyway. So, pro tip, even with the homebrew caps, seat the cap first before you load the powder charge. And so that was one paper cap dot and a pinch of black powder in the cap cup, or in the dud cap, I should say. But that's exactly the same as loading the same thing into an aluminum drink can cap that you punch out with one of the tools, which I have, by the way. So, anyway, just a word of warning. Oh, I will say, even though the cylinder was down against that metal, and there was enough pressure to deform that bullet pretty well when it hit the metal. It didn't hurt the cylinder, didn't blow it up or deform it or anything, so that's good. So I made another one of those caps the same way. One paper cap dot and a pinch of black powder. And this time I used a small block of 2x4 and used the handle of a screwdriver to press the cap onto the nipple, and that worked. But then I went ahead and loaded the powder and the bullet with the loader, and just as I finished that, the cap fell off and it had split. So that didn't work too well, and I wasn't going to try to press another one on there like that with it loaded, because we know what happened last time. So as you can see, my hands are not damaged. I just washed the powder residue off, and you know, it was startling, but you know, and the fact that that bullet with no running start and no barrel to go through, it still had enough power to deform the bullet quite well. So, and I mean, that happened in my hands, but it was alright. So anyway, I wasn't going to go through that again. So what I did instead was I just put a good cap on it. At least I hope it's good. It's a Remington cap, and it's a new one. So let's do this. And what I'll have to do is, I think, you know, those caps, they have material in them, and I think what I'm going to need to do is, while wearing eye protection and everything, probably one of those face shields would be the best way to go. But take my tweezers or a small screwdriver or something and scrape that stuff out to make room for the pinch of black powder and the cap dot, and use a matchstick or something like that to tamp it down, and then put a drop of Duco cement in it or something, or just hairspray even. Something that will not take up much space inside the cap, but will hold everything together. I think that's the way I'm going to salvage those caps. Although that's more work than just putting it in the drink can cups from my tool. But I really want to save these things. But anyway, enough talk. Let's fire it. Yes, indeed. And that was 3F. You know, there's really no reason to, and I've used the smokeless powder in it before, but it bends the bass pin after a while. It gradually bends it. So, and black powder ignites so much more reliably than smokeless does with a percussion cap. So really, you know, as you can see, even with 3F, it packs a pretty good punch. And with 4F or NAA B, then it has more power. And I've got some Swiss 4F and some Swiss NAA B. But anyway, okay, so this is a steel soup can, and it not only penetrated there, it made a pretty good dent too. Peel that label back so we can see it. Yeah, it tore through it pretty well. And it exited the other side. So that's a pretty good punch. Can't complain about that. I think that is that's probably as good as 22 long rifle, and therefore as good as 22 magnum in this size gun, because I've chronographed it. I've got a 22 magnum exactly like that, 22 magnum cartridge revolver like this, same size, same barrel length and everything. And I've also got a Black Widow, which is a 2-inch barrel. This is a 1 5/8 inch barrel. And I've chronographed a lot of them. And with the Black Widow, I've chronographed it with the, I've got both cylinders with it, so I've chronographed it with both 22 long rifle and 22 magnum. And the thing is, from this barrel length, and certainly from the shorter barrel lengths, 22 long rifle does just about as well as 22 magnum. 22 magnum makes a lot more noise, but not much more performance. And in fact, with the best in terms of short barrel, you know, best 22 long rifle loads versus the worst 22 magnum load. And by the way, I'm not talking about stingers when I say the best 22 long rifle load, because those are light bullets. I'm talking about 37 to 40 grain bullets in 22 long rifle. With the best ones compared to a 40 grain 22 magnum, there can actually be a little bit of overlap in performance where they do about the same. And the best 22 long rifle might actually even edge out the worst 22 magnum a little bit for the same bullet weight. So that was just a roundabout way of saying that this does about as well as 22 magnum does in this barrel length. So that's pretty good. Black powder really does everything you need to do with one of these. And the great thing is you can make your own black powder. And your own primers too if you need to. Thanks for watching.